this lesson is about. When we're doing any kind of research from a director's point of view, a dramaturg's point of view, there are lots of steps in understanding the play that you're going to produce. Some of those steps are dramaturgical research, like the director's packet or the rehearsal packet that we started working on, and some of it is script analysis. We've done some different kinds of that, but today in this PowerPoint or Active Inspire presentation, what we want to do is talk about 3 of the most discussed philosophies or techniques for script analysis and structure, mainly about focusing on the structure of a play and how you can analyze it, take it apart, and what you do with the information that you get from it. So all of you have been assigned a part to discuss, and the basic thing we're discussing, if you'll turn off the light, is Freytag's pyramid. And we've said that we're going to correlate that to Ball's Trigger and Heap and Aristotle's Poetics. Why? Because I thought it would give us a broader view of the historical context of the study of dramatic structure. So let's go to the first slide, which is comparing and discussing a little bit about these 3 dramatists or philosophers and talking about why we want to study dramatic structure. It says, by studying dramatic structure in the context of Aristotle's Poetics, Gustav Freytag's Pyramid, and David Ball's Backwards and Forwards, the student should have a foundation for understanding the parts of a play and how these techniques relate to each other, as well as why each one is important. A little background, let's kind of take it out of order. Aristotle is a Greek philosopher and scientist. He wrote around 335 BC. He has the earliest surviving work of dramatic theory, and his reference point is the epic poem, the earliest drama that we have, from which theater evolved. Now, what is the name of this work again that he wrote? Aristotle's Poetics. Go ahead and answer. And so, why is it not Aristotle's play structure or play analysis? Because why? They didn't have plays as such back then. Okay? When Racy gets around to it, she's going to tell you, I think, aren't you going to tell them what Aristotle said the structure of a play is? Okay. So, but he, theater started out as more of choral speaking, more of a poem, an epic poem, until who stepped out of the crowd, supposedly, and was the first actor? Thespis. And then the second and the third were written in. So he is our authority on that. Then later, around the middle 1863, in Germany, Gustav Freytag wrote this work, and I don't speak German, Die Technik der Drama, which is probably mispronounced. But he explained a system for dramatic structure that we talk about as what? What's the name of that structure? Freytag's pyramid. Okay, that's the major discussion we're doing today. But we want to pull in these other 2 guys and see that, well, what they had to say still backs up Freytag, and they all correlate, even though there's just a few slight differences. And then the most modern guy that we're going to study is David Ball, and you have a lot of experience already with Backwards and Forwards. He was from North Carolina, and he wrote that technical manual for reading plays that we spent some time with. And I know y'all just loved Trigger and Heap, didn't you? Okay, so the first people coming up are Gracie and Janie. Is that your own 10? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to start off with just explaining this whole pyramid, but before they even made the pyramid, Aristotle made the basics of theater by saying that it needed structure, which would be a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then Freytag came along and made this pyramid and made it more detailed by saying it needs exposition, a rising action, a climax, a falling action, as a resolution.
David Ball believed in this theory too, but he said that all the modern plays didn't follow this structure, so he thought that you would have to go do it and understand the play by going backwards, and that it would still make sense, and it still had the cause and effects, but you'd have to go backwards to understand it.
And now we're gonna explain the start of it, which is exposition. Let's start with Aristotle says that this explains like the characters or the background of the story and gives the audience like a feel for it.
Freytag said that this taught the reader, the exposition helped the reader learn the background of the plot, and it establishes the scene and it helped understand the theme of the play. And David Ball, he said that the exposition was basically using the past to help you understand the play and what was going on in it.
So basically, all three of them just say that the past will help the audience understand what's going on and why the present actions are what they are.
Okay, the second.
Next
Yachty and
is
maintain.
Yachty and maintain.
What we have to explain is the basically the rising action, or what leads to the rising action.
Which is the inciting incident, also called introduction of conflict. It's the moment in which the primary action or drama of the text is set into motion, the moment the primary conflict is introduced.
And David Ball, what he had to say about this is there's a couple things that lead to it, which is stasis, or there's no movement or anything. It's motionless. It's a condition of balance among various forces, or standing still, for instance. And an intrusion, which is pushing or forcing something. It's for a play to begin. There must be an intrusion, or the starting bell, for the initial incident.
In Aristotle, says that the action should be logical and follow naturally from actions that precede them. They will be more satisfying to the audience if they come about by surprise or like a coincidence and are only afterwards or backwards, which is something David Ball said, as seen as plausible, even necessary.
Which basically what this point is the inciting incident, which is the start of the actual rising action, like what causes it. It's the moment the primary conflict is introduced.
Okay, before you sit down, in the play Soldadetta, what would you call the inciting incident?
The shock.
The shot at the beginning of the play. What was, Racy and Janie, what kind of exposition did we get right there in the beginning of Soldadetta?
That there was a prisoner that was trying to escape, and then that shows that there was something going on, that they had captured a guy, and stuff was not going right.
Okay. Is exposition only delivered through dialogue?
No.
What other kinds of things can you tell?
You're set.
Your set, your setting, when you see that setting, you know something about it, about costumes, accents,
Ways of manner, ways of
Manners.
acting.
about the mood and atmosphere of the play. Can you tell whether it's gonna be a
Yes.
comedy, a tragedy, or, okay, good. Now next.
Next is Haley and Riley.
Haley and I had the rising action, and that is the complications and conflicts that move the plot toward the climax, creating suspense. And it's what occurs before and creates the climax.
That's what Freytag had to say about it. Now, David Ball came in and said that a play's journey is contained within its series of actions. He called this the triggering heap, which we all did, and everyone loves. They are the dramatic conflict that drives the play from action to action. An action occurs and triggers the next action, the heat, much like dominoes falling and striking each other. So basically, it's like he said, it's a big domino. One gets knocked over and the next thing keeps happening. They're basically come one after the other.
Aristotle says that the rising action pretty much creates a cause and effect chain that clearly reveals what may happen at any time or place, because that's the way the world operates. So in other words, he's saying that something will happen that will cause something else to happen. And he says that tragedy is rooted in the fundamental order of the universe, saying that it's basically, our universe works basically on a cause and effect.
Okay.
And so, like, in conclusion to this, the rising action can basically be thought of as what gets the audience on the edge of their seat. It's all coming in just one after the other motion, so.
Create suspense.
Yes, very much.
So cause and effect, trigger and heat, all of these ideas are just similar ways of saying the same thing, correct?
Correct.
So in the rising action, what are some of the events that were part of the rising action in Soledad?
The fights.
All the fights.
Yeah, but
All the fights.
The fights.
Maria leaving to go and bring in the federal.
The rich one.
The relationships.
Also, though, just the subtle hints about the mirror too. Wondering what is he doing? Why is he always happening?
There's a literary term for that. What is that?
Foreshadow.
Foreshadowing. All right.
So.
Anything else? Nice. Very good.
Up
Okay.
next is Kelsey and Richard.